She stepped onto the deck wearing simple jeans, a plain blouse, and a sun hat that had seen better days. No designer labels, no entourage, just a quiet smile and a calm presence. To the glittering crowd sipping champagne on the $200 million yacht, she looked completely out of place. Whispers started almost instantly. Some smirked. Others rolled their eyes. A few even laughed. "Who let her on here?" someone muttered. "Must have wandered in from the dock," said another. They had no idea who she was. In their world of luxury watches, private jets, and high-status games, she was invisible. But behind that modest smile was a woman with a story far richer than any of them could imagine. She didn't argue, didn't flinch. She simply walked past them, calm and confident, as if she belonged there, because she did. As the party sailed on, the jokes about her outfit continued, but so did the quiet stares. There was something about her that didn't quite fit the narrative they had created. Why was the crew unusually respectful toward her? Why did the captain personally greet her? And why, as the sun began to set, did a black car pull up at the port and wait, doors open, engine running? Nobody had connected the dots yet. Nobody realized that the woman they had mocked wasn't just a guest. She wasn't a visitor. She was the owner, not just of the yacht they stood on, but of the entire fleet lined up along the marina. And when the truth finally came out, let's just say, the laughter stopped. But how did she get here? Who was she really? And what did she say when the truth unfolded in front of everyone? You're about to find out. Her name was Maria Delgado. Most people hadn't heard of her, and that's exactly how she liked it. She didn't care for red carpets or magazine covers. No flashy interviews, no social media stunts, just quiet power. Born in a small fishing village along the Spanish coast, Maria grew up watching her father mend nets and repair boats by hand. She learned early on that respect wasn't something you demanded, it was something you earned. While others chased attention, Maria chased ideas. She spent nights studying trade routes, shipping logs, and old maps, long before she could even afford a proper computer. In her 20s, she bought her first fishing boat with borrowed money and grit. By 30, she had expanded to cargo. By 40, she controlled an international shipping network. And eventually, she saw a gap: luxury yachting. Everyone wanted to own one. Few understood how to run the business behind them. So she built a company in the shadows, clean, efficient, and quiet. While millionaires posed with her yachts, none of them realized they were renting a piece of her empire. She let them play the part. That was fine by her. But this party was different. One of the guests, Charles Whitmore, a wealthy investor with too much ego and too little humility, had once tried to buy her out. He didn't recognize her now. How could he? Back then, he met her in a boardroom where she wore a sharp suit and spoke fluent business. Today, she blended into the background. He laughed the loudest when she walked by. He even clinked his glass and made a joke at her expense. The others joined in, unaware they were mocking the very person who signed their checks. And Maria? She just watched. Calm, waiting, planning her next move. Maria moved through the yacht slowly, soaking in every detail. The polished teak floors, the soft hum of the engines, the guests trying too hard to impress one another. It was all part of the illusion. She had built it to be exactly that: impressive, intimidating, unforgettable. But today, watching it all unfold from the outside in, she felt something different. Distance, detachment. Charles was now holding court near the upper deck bar, loudly bragging about a new tech deal he had almost closed, sipping vintage champagne like it was water. Maria watched him for a moment. He hadn't changed. Still loud, still arrogant, still convinced he was the smartest person in the room. What he didn't know was that one of the tech firms he was talking about had already signed a quiet partnership with Maria's logistics company. She had sealed the deal weeks ago. It wasn't personal, it was business. But now, standing here, watching him gloat while mocking her, it felt a little more personal than usual. Meanwhile, below deck, one of the crew members, Sophie, whispered into her headset. "She's on board," she said to the captain. "Should we inform Mr. Whitmore?" The captain paused, glanced at Maria through the tinted glass, and shook his head. Not yet. On another part of the yacht, a group of younger guests were taking photos for social media, tagging luxury brands, and tossing out hashtags like #billionaire and #yachtlife. None of them had the slightest clue who Maria was. One of them, a fashion influencer named Leela, had actually bumped into Maria earlier and rolled her eyes. "Watch where you're going, Grandma," she said, without even looking up from her phone. Maria didn't respond. She didn't need to. She had already decided tonight wouldn't end the way they expected. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the yacht's lighting system came to life, soft golden glows lining the deck, casting long shadows across the guests. The mood was shifting. Drinks were flowing faster, the music louder, laughter looser. But beneath it all, there was a quiet energy brewing. Something was about to change. Maria stood near the rail, looking out over the marina where the rest of her fleet sat anchored in perfect formation. 12 luxury yachts, each named after a place from her past, humble reminders of how far she'd come. From the docks of Almeria to the ports of Singapore, her journey was written on water. Back inside, Charles had moved on to his next story, this one about a failed acquisition deal he claimed to have walked away from. He didn't mention that the deal failed because Maria outbid him and took over the entire contract without ever stepping into the same room. She had done it quietly, anonymously, through a holding company he didn't know was tied to her. Sophie, the crew member who'd been watching closely all evening, approached Maria. "He's getting louder," she said quietly. "Do you want me to step in?" Maria shook her head. "Let them keep talking." In the background, a sleek black speedboat pulled up alongside the yacht. A man in a dark suit stepped off, carrying a silver briefcase. He didn't say a word, just handed it to the captain, nodded, and disappeared below deck. The crew exchanged glances. They knew what was inside. The final documents. The confirmation. Above deck, the party was hitting its peak. The music swelled, guests raised their glasses, and Charles took center stage, completely unaware that the woman he mocked now had the power to end more than just the evening. And she would, just not yet. The music pulsed through the deck, mixing with the sound of waves lapping against the hull. Charles, now deep into his third or fourth drink, stood near the main seating area, grinning as he entertained a small crowd. "You know," he said, swirling his glass, "I could buy out half the companies running this marina if I wanted to." His friends laughed, nodding in agreement, though most of them had no idea if that was true. It wasn't. Maria remained by the railing watching. She had seen men like him before, so sure of their own importance, so blind to what was happening right in front of them. The silver briefcase had disappeared below deck, but the weight of what it contained lingered in the air. The deal was final. By morning, Charles's world would look very different. But then something unexpected happened. A crew member rushed to the captain's side, whispering something urgently. The captain's expression darkened. He nodded, then made his way toward Maria, leaning in close. "We have a problem," he murmured. Maria turned slightly. "What kind of problem?" He exhaled. "Whitmore's people. They got wind of something. They're making calls." Maria's grip on the railing tightened. She had anticipated Charles learning the truth eventually, but not this soon, not tonight. If he connected the dots before she was ready, the game would change. At that moment, Charles pulled out his phone. His confident smirk faded slightly as he read something on the screen. Then his head snapped up, scanning the yacht. His gaze landed on Maria. For the first time that night, he really saw her. And this time, he wasn't laughing. Charles took a step forward, eyes fixed on Maria now, with a mix of confusion and disbelief. The guests around him went quiet, sensing the shift in energy. He walked slowly, his usual swagger replaced by something else. Hesitation. "You," he said, voice lower, unsure. You look familiar. Maria turned to face him fully, her expression calm but firm. We've met, she said simply. He blinked, the realization slowly settling in. You were at that meeting, Delgado Group. She nodded. That's right. You tried to buy us out, offered a fraction of what we were worth. The air grew heavier. Guests were now watching silent, phones lowered, drinks paused mid-air. Charles forced a laugh. So what? You're, what, a consultant, CEO? No, she said, her voice steady. I own the Delgado Group, and the company that bought your contracts, and this yacht, and that one, and those three over there. She pointed toward the marina, where the rest of her fleet gleamed under the moonlight. His mouth opened, but no words came out. And now, Maria added, I own a controlling share of your firm. Your board signed off on the deal this afternoon. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a glass. The sound of it shattering echoed in the silence. Charles stared at her, completely frozen. For a man used to winning, it was a rare moment of defeat, raw and undeniable. But just as Maria turned to leave, a new voice spoke up from behind. Actually, it said coolly, there's been one more change. Everyone turned. It was Leela, the influencer, stepping forward. She held a tablet in her hand, showing a news alert flashing across the screen. Looks like someone just bought Delgado Group's parent company, she said, eyes locked on Maria. And it wasn't Charles. Maria's eyes narrowed. The game wasn't over after all. Maria stepped toward Leela, her eyes scanning the screen. The headline was real. A private equity group had just acquired the parent company of Delgado Group. Silent, sudden, clean. For a moment, she said nothing. Then, almost amused, she smiled. Well played, she murmured. Leila raised an eyebrow. You might want to read the fine print. The holding firm, it's mine. The crowd stirred again, confused. Maria looked at her, and something shifted. Not anger, not fear, something closer to curiosity. I underestimated you, Maria said softly. You're not the only one, Lila replied. Turns out, the young influencer wasn't just chasing hashtags. She had spent the last 2 years quietly investing in digital logistics and tech infrastructure, some of which intersected with Delgado Group's expansion. She'd used her public image to distract, while she built a real empire behind the scenes. Tonight was her quiet reveal. Charles, now clearly irrelevant in the moment, stepped back into the shadows, no longer the center of attention. Maria extended her hand to Leela. I'd like to talk, she said. Maybe not tonight, but soon. Leela nodded. I'll make time. As the party slowly resumed, guests whispered about what had just happened. The woman they mocked had turned out to own everything they envied, and the young girl they ignored had just rewritten the rules of the game. Maria stood by the rail once more, the marina lights reflecting in her eyes. The yacht swayed gently, steady beneath her feet. Power didn't always come loud. Sometimes it came wrapped in silence, strategy, and simplicity. And in a world chasing appearances, both women had proved that real power doesn't beg to be seen. It just shows up and leaves everyone else wondering how they missed it.